Ever feel like you've been completely overlooked? Or, that our whole culture is just obsessed with finding that next big thing literally overnight? Well, you're not alone. Today, we're jumping into the big ideas from Adam Grant's incredible book, Hidden Potential. And trust me, it makes a really powerful case that we've been looking for talent in all the wrong places. This quote, this quote right here just gets right to the heart of the whole problem. I mean, just think about it for a second. Our schools, our workplaces, our entire culture, we're obsessed with the finished product, right? We throw parties for the valedictorian or the star employee, but we totally ignore the unbelievable growth it took for someone else just to get to the middle of the pack. We're rewarding the polish, not the progress. And this leads to what Adam Grant calls the cult of the prodigy. We're just fascinated by the idea of the natural-born genius, the overnight success story. But here's the danger. That obsession builds a system that's designed to filter for people who have already arrived. It completely overlooks all the people who are still on their journey, no matter how ridiculously steep their learning curve is. So here's the fundamental mistake we're all making. We look at someone's starting ability, how good they are at something right now, and we completely confuse that with their actual potential. But what really, really predicts success in the long run isn't where you start. It's your capacity to learn and to grow from that starting point. That is the true engine of growth. And this brings us to the book's absolute core concept, distance traveled. This, Grant argues, is the true measure of a person's promise. It's not about the person who was lucky enough to be born on third base. No, it's about the person who started way out in the parking lot and still managed to hit a home run. It's the steepness of their climb that reveals so much more than the height of their current peak. Now, let this one sink in for a second, because it's a powerful reframe. Sure, innate talent might give you a baseline. It sets the floor for what you can do. But it's your character that truly determines how high you can go. It's the things you can learn, like persistence, adaptability, and the courage to look foolish while you learn, that actually set your ceiling. Okay, so if character is the real key, how in the world do we build it? The great thing is, this isn't just some abstract theory. Grant actually lays out a super clear framework for how we can cultivate this hidden potential, not just in ourselves, but in other people too. So the framework stands on 3 big pillars, and they're all connected. It all starts with your internal skills of character. That's the engine for your growth. But any engine needs fuel, and that's where structures for motivation come in to keep you going. And finally, none of that matters if you don't have systems of opportunity. Basically, the open doors that allow potential to even be seen and developed in the first place. And when you look at it like this, the shift in thinking is just, wow. The old model is totally fixated on these static things. What are your cognitive skills? Your past performance? Your innate talent? But the hidden potential model flips that. It looks at dynamic things, your character, your rate of improvement, your trajectory, and your actual ability to learn. It's all about who you can become, not just who you happen to be right now. All right, let's get practical. The first tool for building that character completely flips conventional wisdom on its head. I'm serious. Forget about finding your comfort zone. Grant argues that all meaningful growth happens outside of it. You have to actively go looking for challenges and be willing to feel like a total beginner, over and over again. But how do you actually thrive in that discomfort? Well, it requires something called absorptive capacity. And the best way to think about it is with this metaphor of a sponge. Now, the key isn't to just soak up everything. A bad sponge either absorbs all criticism, even the really destructive stuff, or it gets so defensive that it doesn't absorb anything at all. A good sponge, on the other hand, is strategic. You gotta proactively go seek out real coaching, not just empty cheerleading from your friends. You learn how to filter out the criticism that isn't helpful. And maybe most important of all, you have to practice staying open to feedback that will actually help you grow instead of just immediately getting defensive. And this all requires a mindset Grant calls imperfectionism. Now, this isn't about having low standards at all. It's actually the antidote to that destructive kind of perfectionism that just paralyzes us. It's about being willing to tolerate that awkward, clumsy, totally embarrassing feeling of being new at something, because you understand that imperfection is a necessary and even honorable sign that you're learning. But let's be real. Can you do all this hard stuff alone? Not really. And that brings us to the next tool, which is all about tackling that myth of the rugged individual. The structures around us are often just as important as the character within us. Grant points out something hilarious but true about that old phrase, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. It's physically impossible. You literally cannot fly by pulling on your own feet.
It's a brilliant takedown of the whole self-made myth, and it perfectly highlights how much we all need support. So, instead of rugged independence, what we really need is interdependence through what Grant calls scaffolding. Just think of it like the scaffolding on a building. It's all the temporary support structures we get from mentors, teachers, peers, even from well-designed systems. They let us reach heights we could never get to on our own, and then, once we've built the skill, the scaffolding can come down. And when you're looking for that kind of support, it's way better to find a compass than a map. Why? Well, a map gives you a fixed set of instructions for a path that's already laid out. But life's terrain is always changing, right? A compass, a really good mentor or a guide, they don't give you the route. They teach you how to read the terrain for yourself so you can find your own way. So, if we know that character and scaffolding are so critical, why do our systems, our schools, our companies keep getting it so wrong? This brings us to a really provocative question about our systems of opportunity. Or maybe our lack of them. Are we actually designing our systems to fail the very people we claim to be looking for? The problem is, we so often have this super narrow, standardized idea of what success is supposed to look like. A single test, a specific type of interview, a certain kind of background. In essence, what we're doing is asking everybody to climb the exact same tree, no matter what their true nature is. Grant uses this fantastic metaphor to explain what's happening. He says our systems are basically designed to find land animals, people who are just naturally good at our specific standardized tests. And when we do that, we completely miss all the sea creatures, people who have incredible potential but happen to excel in totally different environments that our tests could never measure. So, what's the solution here? It requires a fundamental shift in our entire goal. We have to stop obsessing over picking winners right from the start, and instead start focusing on making winners through real investment and development. And to do that, we have to avoid two huge pitfalls. First, there's the trophy trap. That's when we confuse shiny credentials and awards with a person's actual worth. And second, we have to avoid the mistake of the first impression. That's judging someone by one single snapshot in time and completely missing the momentum of their journey. And this is the final, most empowering idea of all. Potential isn't some fixed asset. It's not a lottery ticket you were either given or not at birth. It is a kinetic energy. It's something you build, something you generate through your own effort, your character, and the support you get from others. So the real question isn't, do you have it? It's, what are you doing to create it?